Good afternoon, Fantasy Bay. Mike Williams here, and today we're going to be going over the DraftKings lineup. So I got a DraftKings lineup set up here. I have a couple players I want to go over first, and at the end, I'll give you what I have as my DraftKings lineup. So we're going to start off with the quarterback position as usual, and we're going to go with Drew Brees against Atlanta. Atlanta does not scare me. Their secondary is absolutely terrible. Drew Brees came back through for 373 yards, 3 touchdowns, got you 30 fantasy points. He's only 6,700. You'd like to see that? I think he's a good start this week. Next, we're going to go to Jameis Winston, famous Jameis, who is somehow more expensive than him, probably because he's going against Arizona, and they're the worst against, they're one of the worst teams against the quarterback. Jameis Winston's at 3,800. I think he's a solid play. He may get a turnover or two, but I also think he's going to throw for 2 or 3 of them things. In that same game, Kyler Murray. I like anybody going against Tampa. Our defense does not play well against quarterbacks. He's only 6,500. I think he's a good start this week. He had 26 fantasy points last week. 5 attempts on the ground for 34 yards plus 340 or 241 in the air. Not bad. Next, we're going to go with Aaron, my man Aaron Rodgers, coming back with a vengeance. He had 3 good games in a row and 1 down game. This week he goes against Carolina, 6,600. He's actually in my DK lineup. I am not afraid of Aaron Rodgers, and I believe he is a beast. Matt Ryan, I also think is going to have a good game going against New Orleans. He's been averaging like 300 yards a game, about 2 or 3 touchdowns. He's been very solid. I like him this week. I think that this is going to be one of the higher scoring games of the week. It should be a lot of back and forth. Next, we're going to go to wide receivers, and I have Chris Godwin at 7,400 going against Arizona. I don't believe that Patrick Peterson is going to be able to shut down Chris Godwin or Mike Evans. So both of them, I think, are great plays this week. Fire them up. Michael Thomas in that Atlanta game. Like I was saying, I'm trying to get as much action in this Atlanta versus New Orleans Saints matchup, and I think that Michael Thomas is going to go off. He has been averaging over 11 targets or more a game for the last 3. That's fantastic. He's an absolute beast. You got to start him. 8,300, so it's going to take a lot to get into your lineup, but I think he's going to feast against the Falcons. Obviously, I just talked about Mike Evans. This is one that I think is interesting. Davante Adams is probably cheaper than he's been in years. Davante Adams is at 6,900. Yes, please. Where's my easy button? That was easy. Yeah, you got to play Davante Adams this week. 6,900 against the Carolina Panthers. I'm not afraid of the Panthers because I know that Aaron Rodgers is going to connect with Davante Adams. They didn't have a great game last week. He had 11 targets for 7 receptions. That's fine and good, but Davante Adams is trying to get 100 plus in a touchdown. So I think that he gets fed this week. Cooper Kupp, I think that Pittsburgh is going to have trouble with him in the slot. 7,300, I think he's a good play. Christian Kirk going against the Bucs defense. I do think that Kyler Murray is going to play well. So ipso facto, one of his wide receivers should play well. So Christian Kirk, I think, dominates the Bucs defense this week. Bucs can get beat in the air, but we don't get beat on the ground. So I think Christian Kirk has a good chance to have a good game this week. Julio Jones is always a solid play, especially when he's going against the New Orleans Saints defense. I know that their defense is good, but he's Julio Jones. He's one of the best wide receivers in the league, and this should be a high-scoring game, so I can rock with him. Amari Cooper against Minnesota. I'm not too worried about Minnesota. Xavier Rhodes has not been who he has been in the past. The road is not closed. It is partially open. It's more of like there's a fork in the road. My man just took a right. And Amari Cooper's at 7,200. I think he's a solid play. He should be fine. He should be playing well this week. Also mentions we have Calvin Ridley and Ted Ginn. I think they're both solid flyers. Ted Ginn's a flyer. I think Calvin Ridley's just a good play. I think he definitely has a good game against New Orleans. You can't bracket Julio and cover him the same. So I think that Calvin Ridley also has a solid game this week. All right, next we're going to get to running back. Saquon Barkley, obviously, everybody thinks that he's going to be a good start against the Jets, and I agree. He's going to be pretty solid. 8,800 is not Christian McCaffrey level, which he's at 10 grand, which I have him next on my list. Christian McCaffrey's a monster, so if you can fit him into your lineup, I would do it. Aaron Jones. I like Aaron Jones against Carolina. Again, I'm not too afraid of them. I think that Aaron Rodgers is going to have a field day in this game, and if that's the case, then 7,400 is a solid amount for Aaron Jones. He's been a beast. Up and down, but he always has a 40 game in him. So I also like Derrick Henry going against Kansas City. That's one of the places you could beat Kansas City. It's on the ground, so I think that running is their best option. I don't know how long until the game script gets out of hand, but as long as the game's in hand, I think that Derrick Henry is going to be a beast. He's at 6,400. Le'Veon Bell, I don't expect either of these teams to just dramatically pull away, to be honest with you. I think they're middling of the pack for both of them. So 6,900 for Le'Veon Bell. I think he stays involved. He gets a lot of catches. He's always heavily used. One of the top 3 used players in the NFL. Love that. David Montgomery going against Detroit. I think ever since the coach came out and said, what do you think, I'm an idiot? Of course I know I need to run the ball more. 27 rushing attempts. 14 rushing attempts. If it stays anywhere in that range, I think he eats the Detroit Lions alive. They've been terrible against the run. He's only 5,300. He's a must play this week for sure. This is my sneaky play of the week. Like, if you're really desperate and you're trying to have something where very contrarian, Kareem Hunt plays this week for the first time. Going against Buffalo, 3,000. That's extremely low. If he ends up getting like 8 to 10 carries, or touches, my man can make that work. 3,000 is very low. Ronald Jones, he was named the starter last week. He's only 4,300 going against Arizona. That defense doesn't scare me. I think Ronald Jones has a great game. And tight end. So we're going to start with Austin Hooper. He's been playing great. Going against New Orleans, they're really good against the tight end, but I'm not afraid of that because I do think that they're going to get him involved in a few different ways. 5,500, I think it's a solid play. Eric Ebron always has the upside of a touchdown. Going against Miami, I'm not afraid of them. 3,900, very solid price. Mark Andrews is a little more expensive. Going against Cincinnati, I don't think it's the easiest matchup in the world, but I like Mark Andrews. He got shut down last week. I don't think he gets shut down again, so I'd watch out for him. Gerald Everett, I like him this week going against Pittsburgh, 4,500, very solid. He's been up and down lately, but I do think this is going to be a pretty good game for him, especially with Brandon Cooks out. And if you're looking for a flyer, O.J. Howard is going to be back this week, 3,300, very cheap. Going against Arizona, they suck against the tight end. They are the worst against the tight end, so I think he's playable. Mike Gesicki is who I'm actually going to be going with in my daily fantasy lineup, 3,100, going against Indy. He was 6 for 6 last week, 15 fantasy points, 95 yards, very solid, doing it without a touchdown. You like to see that. If he gets a touchdown, he's going to have a fantastic day. Start him up. Defenses, we're going to go with Baltimore against Cincinnati at $4,000. Baltimore's going to eat Cincinnati alive, especially because they have a rookie quarterback this week. So I think they're going to be a great play. The Lions going against the Bears. The Bears' offense has been pretty stagnant. The Lions defense is only 2,900. I think that's very solid. Arizona going against the Bucks. You know, Jameis is bound to throw a pick or two. There should be probably at least one fumble in this game. So I think the Arizona Cardinals defense is solid. Indianapolis Colts going against Miami, 3,500. I've been telling people, Fitzmagic I think is good, but they do turn the ball over. They're going to be playing from behind if Jacoby Brissett plays. So I think that they're going to be a fine play at 3,500. And so those are all the players that I wanted to mention. Now I'm just going to go over my daily lineup. So I have Aaron Rodgers at 6,600, David Montgomery at 5,300, Ronald Jones at 4,300. I spent down on my running back so that I could spend up on my wide receivers. Michael Thomas at 83, Devontae Adams at 69, Christian Kirk at 52, Mike Gesicki at 3,100, and that allowed me to fit in Chris Godwin at 7,400. And also, I like the Bills defense going against Cleveland because the Browns are just not playing up to par right now. They're just not doing their thing. So I think that's going to do it. Let me know if you have any questions. Mike Williams, Fantasy Bay. Check out my social media down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Check out the rest of my videos. I do a video preview on every game in the week. Good luck, everybody.